Hello friends! In this video we will talk about May 2020, about astrological transits and horoscope for May in the year 2020. In the first part of the video I will talk about May in general with the intention to inspiring you to understand what is happening from a broader point of view. So I will explain here some symbols and I will not speak only narrowly from the astrological point of view. That will be the first part of this video. And in the second part of this video, I will talk a little bit more specifically about concrete transits in May and mention how they will affect concrete zodiac signs. So full moon is going to be on the 7th in Scorpio, and new moon will be on the 22nd in Gemini in May. There are many transits, but let's mention important ones. So the Sun will be in Taurus until the 21st, and afterwards will be in Gemini sign. Saturn will be retrograde from the 11th, Venus will be retrograde from the 13th, and Jupiter will be retrograde from the 15th of May. From May 6th, the North Lunar Node is going to be in Gemini, which means that South Node will be in Sagittarius for the first time after 18 years. As usually, most of the May, the Sun is in Taurus, and as we know, we often talk about also Uranus in Taurus. I have 3 videos about Uranus in Taurus. They're on YouTube. I recommend them to you very much. This is very, very special transit, which will run from 2018 until 2026. I did not mention this in April, but in April, Sun met with Uranus in the sky. But as May is the month of Taurus, I decided to speak this month about Uranus in Taurus, some possible interpretation. On the first sight, Uranus has nothing to do with Taurus sign because Uranus is in fall in this sign, as classical astrology says. Taurus itself is an earth sign, representing the feminine principle. It's very fertile and very passive at the same time. With Taurus, the first polarity occurs, astrologically speaking, while Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, is the symbol of very raw and masculine principle, and thus it symbolizes the struggle for existence and also creative energy, of course. Taurus symbolizes, on the contrary, the feminine principle and thus the form or everything what is material. So Aries energy, Taurus material things. Aries energy, Taurus form. Taurus represents fertile land nature, mythologically that's Gaia and Mother Earth, but it is also a soil, and also it is earth principle within man. Uranus itself has little in common with Taurus, as you guess already. Uranus is the planet of discoveries, modern technology, technological and other discoveries generally, planet of science also, but also of social upheavals, ideas, and generally revolutions. It often occurs where life is modernized. Uranus also symbolizes the conscious or the widening of the conscious of person or of collective. I said 3 videos about Uranus, so check that videos to see concretely what this means. This interpretation is slightly different. So for Taurus and Scorpio, this transit of Uranus in Taurus is going to be very, very important, but it's important for all of us in some way. So what this can bring Uranus in Taurus? We will talk here about 2 scenarios, one that is bad one and the other one that can possibly be fantastic. So in the worst variant, Uranus can easily, in this fruitful sign of Taurus, destroy nature, underestimate nature in his technocratic visions, and create some sort of a non-natural life on Earth. It is interesting that Uranus symbolically represents space, and thus we can assume that this constellation challenges man to transcend the space of the Earth on which he lives and to conquer the cosmos. And this desire will be maybe stronger than before, or already it is, it looks. How absurd this is, you will decide yourself. But from a spiritual point of view, human has nowhere to go from this planet. We came to this earth to do some work, and there are very strict laws about that. However, as we learn from various sources, our planet is surrounded with satellites. They're constantly also experimenting with climate, and they're setting some strange antennas now, 5 something. And these antennas we do not need at all as humans, and they can be extremely dangerous for our health and for the old beings on this planet. So this is what is happening now with Uranus in Taurus. Also, the space wars are going on, as they say, very close to our Earth. There are more and more unusual flying objects near Earth, and many people recorded that. There are films, short films on the YouTube about that. So there are many things happening in the space. There are many new satellites there. They said almost 20,000 new satellites that they put very close to the Earth in order to connect them with, better not to speak about. I hope you heard about that, what is happening. So, yeah, many of those things are negative, maybe not all, maybe not some of those objects are negative, we don't know about that. But what can be negative, I'm sure about that. These are objects that these degenerated, self-appointed leaders who belong to old programs and dying civilization are putting there. That what they are doing is definitely wrong. In some videos, I mentioned that we are going through a period when one old system crashes and creates a new one. So we live in a time of collapse of Western civilization and everything that this civilization created, and they're actually reaching the peak. And as we know, when energy reaches its peak, it is already in the downward path. It's very clear from many philosophies. To be on the top, it means to fall down. So simply saying they don't have time and they feel that they don't have any time, that's why they are in a hurry, and that's why the agony is so great. Of course that there are many people who know about this and that humanity is waking up, but this is opposite process. I'm still speaking about the worse version of Uranus in Taurus. So I also mentioned that in times when a paradigm is changing that encompasses all aspects of human existence, such as science, politics, economics, medicine, religion, etc., that is actually when mythologies changes. So I even have a very short video about that. The name is Conflict of Mythologies. So why is this happening? Why there have to be this conflict of mythologies when new paradigm is coming? Well, because behind every science is mythology. Behind every religion is mythology. That is to say that when people choose one scientific or religious or political paradigm, they actually choose the story that is behind it and they decide to believe in that. And that will create further on all their thoughts about that. I wanted to say if there are people who are very naive and who interpret those things by saying that there is something solid and definitely right, that it is behind the science, religion, politics and so on, they are very wrong. As humanity evolves, so does the beliefs of people evolve, and everything that we believe in is tightly connected with mythology, which is of course not to say that there are no eternal laws. They do exist, of course, And one of these eternal laws is that everything changes constantly. So now it is not the question whether old ideas, old beliefs, old science are leaving us, that's very clear as a day, but the problem is what's to come. So what will humanity accept as a story to believe in the future centuries? Now it's very important that we become, first of all, aware that this is happening. And we also need to be conscious about everything and to waken up our consciousness and our conscious, because we are responsible for this, what is happening, and also individually and collectively. We must no longer allow ourselves the luxury to live this luxurious life. What I mean about luxury here is that we don't care about that what is happening in politics or in science, especially as we see now in medicine and internet technology, because if we ignore it, then that will mean that we are so decadent that we will let things happening as they are happening, and that we can't keep going as the energy goes. We can't do the proper thing. So that will happen if we do not be active in this time. So we need to understand that today's science often works against man, and that can't be in universe. So if we let them to work against humanity, that actually, and if we let those not responsible or even people have these modern technologies that are very developed, if a bad person uses them, that will later lead into the end of humanity. So we should not let them to do that. Among us on this planet, of course, there are very evil people who pretend to rule the world, and they even succeeded to a great extent. And fortunately, they are now intensively showing their face. We more and more see what they are doing. It is very clear that they want to keep us ignorant, and therefore they delete from internet any material that expresses the doubt about the current methods of healing. They delete videos in which people talk about ancient knowledge and ancient technologies, spiritual knowledge, and the power of man's mind and man's spirit. So under the umbrella of so-called concern for human health, all content that questions media propaganda is removed. And of course, all possible methods of pressure are used. Because fear, that is what this plutocratic system is keep going. Check my video named Plutocracy if you wish to learn in which system we live in. So now the question can be, where is the democracy? Where is the freedom of speech? Well, it disappeared easily because it never existed. However, let's return to the story of matter and energy and opposites of Aries and Taurus, because we want now to show another version of the story. Is it necessarily that we are destroyed and the symbol can be Uranus in Taurus among other symbols or can we use this symbolism, Uranus in Taurus, to do something else? Well, the element of Earth is often described that has to capture energy in order to manifest things in sensuous material form. That is why many spiritual sciences say that spirit is imprisoned in matter and longs to be released. Since we know that the energy of the planet is planets is morally neutral, that means that only of us depends how we will use certain energies. So let's see if we can use Uranus in Taurus to do some opposite processes. Of course, it can destroy Earth and life on Earth, but is it opposite process possible? So we'll see that it is. So we know that Earth is connected to the notion of gravitation, which today is understood as purely physical law, which has nothing to do with spiritual science. But in the spiritual sciences, this law signifies the power of matter to hold man down, to pull him toward darkness of the earth, to put him in unconscious state of mind, to harden man, to turn him into stone eventually. So there are so many fairy tales in this world where they say that there are people who were turned into stones, and they were just stones until they were released after discovering of some truth or after solving some problem. That's what we need to do if we want to be liberated. So, on the contrary of this gravitational force, there is a force of anti-gravity or anti-gravitational force. And the proof that this exists is fire, because when you burn the fire, you see that fire is going up. Of course, birds prove that there is anti-gravity, and birds are, of course, symbol of fire element in Feng Shui and many other spiritual arts. So, as you know, with the placement of those antennas, birds are dying. So it is clear what they want to do. They want to stop us to live through this anti-gravity force, or they want to stop our spirit to be free or to fly as a bird. Fire was the greatest symbol of Brahmanism and Zoroastrianism. And it is very important for all of those nations and for all of those people who belong to Indo-European corpus. For them, those religions are especially important, which their languages prove. So the priests of these religions perform many rituals with the fire to show actually the power of their spirit. These religions, and some later that emerge from them, emphasize the power of spirit. Some speak about the power of spirit, some speak about the power of knowledge, as for example Gnostic religions speak, and many speak about the power of the truth. And this is what I wanted to remind you. What we need to wake up is our power of spirit, our power of knowledge, and the truth. And that will help people to overcome the darkness and the darkness of ignorance that they are falling into. So we can say, by using the vocabulary of psychology also, that this is the struggle, of course, between conscious and the subconscious. Material collectively, as always it is, of course, but now this is a very intensive process. If the conscious is not stronger than the subconscious, that people get crazy. This is the process. So the conscious is the light and subconscious is the darkness. So the more conscious we are, the more we strengthen the power of our spirit, the more we illuminate our individual unconscious material, and the more we help the forces of light that there are in this world. Everything else, of course, leads to darkness, turns life and man into a stone. So it's up to us to decide what we will do. All the news that are now allowed in official medias, they are actually under the guise of caring of our health, they are actually tending to turn man into a stone. This is what is happening, and it's up to us to see whether we accept that or not. Lately, I have heard in many areas of knowledge, in different types of books and presentations, that various people are mentioning anti-gravitation, which fascinated me completely. So I came to this idea that anti-gravity, this is our topic today. This should be our topic today. So what we need to do is to overcome the power of gravitation against everything that restricts the mind of a man and the spirit of a man, but that restricts the power of a man's spirit to fly. In the best possible interpretation, Uranus represents that unlimited power of consciousness, as we said. And until recently, of course, for humans was forbidden to know about that. It was forbidden for a man to know that the power of his spirit and his consciousness is limitless. The modern technology and the highest knowledge has been hidden by evil people, And now they want to even to use it against humanity, which is not allowed in universe. So if we allowed this highest knowledge to be used by evil people on in a bad way, not the proper way, this is the end of humanity, I'm saying. We know that Prometheus is one of the symbols of Uranus, further symbol, and it is also one of the symbols of the sign of Aquarius. And it speaks about the emancipation of human spirit. If you have forgotten the mythos of Prometheus, please check it. You can find it on the internet. We can also interpret this myth in various ways, but for now I would say that this is the archetype of liberation of the spirit. And this archetype occurs occasionally in some certain stages of development of humanity. And if we understand it properly, that can have many benefits. Please pay attention that Uranus is not fire, and Prometheus is not the symbol of fire. Prometheus steals fire from God and gives it to people. So if you ask me, yes, our way is anti-gravity and freeing of spirit. When man realizes that he is free and that he has immanence power, then the heaven or the sky, let's say, in many words, heaven is, in many languages, heaven is the synonym to sky. Then when man tries, then the sky helps him, as it is said. And Uranus actually, or Uranos in Old Greek, means the sky. So that was my interpretation of those possible archetypes. And now let's say a few words about concrete transits in May. I know that many of you are waiting this. So from the May 11 to the May 15, Saturn, Venus and Jupiter are retrograde. That means it's time to analyze and figure out what was happening to us in previous months. It is now necessarily, as the eclipse period is coming in June, to understand what is happening, because June will be also very intense and very crucial for some parts of the world, because there can be many revolutions in this time. May and most of June are good for completing certain processes. If somebody wants to divorce, then it's good for divorce. It's good to finish something that we started before and then we stopped it and now we can finish it, for example. Retrograde Venus also can be very good to divorce, or even to break some relationships, or even to sell something. It can be very good if you want to sell something. So definitely it's not the time to strengthen relationships, to do new business, to establish new business, to start new projects. Not good for that. Check my older videos about retrograde Venus. It was in different signs, not like in Gemini, like now, but I said in some older videos something generally about retrograde Venus. Many things will lose its value now with those retrograde planets, especially with retrograde Venus. So if you want and you can buy on discounts, or you can buy things because they lost value, then this can be very good time. Saturn will be in Aquarius all month, and during all month on the first degree, first direct then retrograde. It clearly shows that people have power, just they need to understand that, and it will take them some time. I talk about this also in a video named Saturn in Aquarius. I recommend this video very much to you because it's crucial transit for the next year, partly for this year also. Saturn and Jupiter, when they are retrograde, they will be retrograde until September. Can be even good if you ask me, because a lot of things will not go according to the predetermined plan. Which also can stop those elites that they want to do horrible things. Maybe they will not do it. That's why they speak about the second wave of something, I can't say what, in autumn, because they most probably know that the energy stagnates now, and then in autumn they want to do more disorder in this world. But we will see, this period can be good for destroying their plans also. However, those two energies also stop actions of individuals. And especially Capricorn people, Sagittarius, Pisces, and eventually crabs, that we call Cancer people crabs. Maybe they will be affected with retrograde Jupiter and Saturn. Maybe many will reduce their expenses, try to save something that can be saved after the months of break or after that's what was happening. In principle, May is not the month for big new plans, for big new projects, but it is a quite good month for short-term plans. Much things can be done in May, especially in the second part of May, after the 20th of May, let's say. Many things can be done in practical and quick way, especially when the Sun enters Gemini. And also thanks to Mercury, that is quite good. It will be also well aspected. It is a ruler of Gemini sign. So let's mention some days, which days can be very good, like 9th, 10th, 13th, 22nd of May, good for organizational things, solving problems, good for business deals and things like that, for school exams also. And those days are also good for Gemini and Virgo, especially for them, but also for others, of course. But on May the 3rd, May 11th and 20th, there are some challenges energies, maybe related to job, money, interpersonal relationships also. So be aware around those days, especially if you are Libra, Taurus or Gemini. Then May 11th, there is going to be the square between Mercury and Mars. This can be felt by Aries and Scorpio people. They possibly can have some verbal conflicts in this time, so be careful if you don't want that. The Sun is going to be in Taurus and will make trines to Jupiter and Pluto that are in Capricorn. This we will feel almost all month, but especially between 15th and the 17th. Regardless to this retrograde movement of planets, this is very high quality energy. It will mostly affect Taurus and Capricorn, but also Libras, Sagittarius, Scorpios and Leos. This is going to be a period for many that they can invest money, especially around those days. They can stabilize their situation in a way. Actually, everyone can invest money in this time, especially in precious metals and everything that comes from the earth, perhaps diamonds or something. But mentioned signs can be especially lucky those days, but all of us can do that. This also can be a period of good success, strengthening position at work, good for some business appointments. This can strengthen some career for some people, and also it can be very good for some social and political changes. May 10 has more good aspects also, good for creativity, inspiration, especially for those who are involved in arts. And also, I will mention here that Mars will be in Pisces since the 14th, which is a very weak position for this planet. Usually feel it Aries and Scorpio people, they can be without energy, maybe in the second part of the month. However, at the mundane level, this square can be quite interesting because it can suggest some diversity actions against rulers or occupators. This can also be the aspect that can put criminals into prison. So let's see what can bring this aspect. On May 25th, Mars makes sextile to planet Uranus. This also can mean unexpected attack or sabotage or a fight in that way. In any case, if people want to rebel, then May and June are very good. Fall is too dangerous for this. May also brings some culmination of one 6-month period for Scorpio people. Many will be relieved, they will finish some projects or something, and they will feel good that they completed some parts in some period of their life, something. Aquarius are also quite active in May. They learn a lot about themselves and their work. Perhaps they will also complete some work, some projects, some creation. And maybe later on they will have a break until at the end of the year Aquarius people start building those new structures that we often talk about. And I will also mention that at the 6th of May, lunar nodes change sign. So they will start their transit through Gemini Sagittarius axis. Lunar node will be in Gemini and South node will be in Sagittarius. In June, we will already have first eclipse in Sagittarius. So this will mean that one 18-year cycle finishes for all of us. I spoke about the meaning of eclipses and lunar nodes also, especially about eclipses in one of my older video. The name of the video is Astrology, Eclipses and Our Spiritual Path. If you wish, check that video to see what is happening with eclipses. So the North Node in Gemini shows that Gemini people will tend to grow further over next 2 years, while Sagittarius people will more harvest the fruits of their past experiences, or even they will give up of their way that they were on in the last 18 years. For each of us, this will mean something, and I will speak about that in a separate video. And that's all for now. So if you would like to schedule personal consultations with me, feel free to do that. You can check off my web page, symbolicthinking.net, what do I offer. I want to stress that I do with astrological psychology and spiritual astrology. I'm not interested in classical astrology that much. I also record some of my analysis of horoscopes, and of course I have consultations. So what do I offer in English? You will see on my web pages. I offer more things in other languages, unfortunately, because I don't have time for 3 languages, to do everything in 3 languages, but there are many things in English also. I also have, for example, a free, not free, but online course of astrology, tropical astrology for beginners. You maybe decide to buy it and to learn online. Also, if you like this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe. Thank you very much in advance. All of the videos that I recommended you will find under this video on YouTube. And until next time, I wish you to free flight, and I wish you to conquer the law of anti-gravity.